I'm going to be talking about the new Spider-Man movie that released this month called Spider-Man Far From Home. This movie released from June 5th, and it was one of the movies that Sony uh, no longer directs. I think they gave him back to Marvel after Spider-Man, the character, was bought in 2014 during Andrew Garfield's take on The Amazing Spider-Man. So during that time, Sony had control of him. Now, I think Marvel bought him back for this movie. And I want to talk about how amazing all those scenes were. I have been a Spider-Man fan since 2003. Sorry, 2003. I was 3 years old, but 2008. That's the proper way of saying it. I've been a fan for more than a decade. I have followed a lot of his comics. I started reading a lot of it. I read everything based on Spider-Man. Very few comics I find that I have kind of pull for. I am a huge fan of the Spider-Man games. The first ever video game on the Wii that I've played was Spider-Man Web of Shadows, which was the best Spider-Man game I've ever played and witnessed until I saw the new Spider-Man PS4 game that released last year. Best game ever. Best game ever today too, until Cyberpunk releases. Then it will be redundant. But the movie is the one thing I want to talk about. It takes place after Endgame, like after the snap, when everyone came back, and those who had snapped away came back as the age they were. Whereas those who weren't snapped away, or blipped as the movie depicts it, they grew up during that span of 5 years. For me, when I first saw that movie, I reacted the hell out of it. I'm a very emotional person when I watch something. If people are around me, regardless, or if I'm alone, I will talk a lot. I will react to it. I'll comment on it, that kind of thing. In the theaters, it's no different. So when I'm sitting alone in a theater and watching this movie, I will be one hell of a heckler. Even if it is in live action, so yeah. So when I saw this movie, I had so many what the fudge moments. Almost censored. Almost got demonetized. A lot of what the fudge moments. Son of a biscuit. Things like that. When I watched this movie, I just could not believe that that Quentin Beck, Mysterio, would be in this, and I was honestly pretty surprised that he looks pretty dang cool. He is awesome. Whereas Spider-Man, well, his voice dropped. He sounds like a douche. A little bit. I'm sorry, I'm not good at this. If it comes to books, I can feel the emotions from it. I can fully appreciate the scenery, everything. Whereas from Spider-Man, you have to keep track of the dialogue. Movies, you gotta keep track of the scenes, the plot, everything. You also have to do research on it. I'm not good at that. With books, it's easier. You can just feel the emotions. You can feel the emotions you feel as you read the book. From the character's point of view, you can feel it from their point of view. Whereas from the movie, you're seeing everything being played out as live action, as role play, things like that. When I watched the movie, I couldn't help but feeling that if it was a book, I would have read it flat out. If it was a comic book, I would be feeling it all the way. It would be amazing. And this movie was one of the best Spider-Man movies I've seen up to date. The fight scenes with Mysterio and Spider-Man were probably the best ever. The first one was a little too CGI, but still amazingly good. The writing, the artwork, even the improv. I loved it. So good. Then there was the second fight scene, Spider-Man versus the drones and fake Mysterio. I think that one thing I don't like about this is that Mysterio isn't textbook, like he isn't comic book accurate. He's not, there's my bird, he's not how you would expect him to be in the movie than he is from the comics. Because in the comics it actually showed he had magic, like illusionary tricks. He actually had the suit of armor, he had the bobblehead and the fishbowl glass head. He even had the mysterious smoke in his helmet. Whereas in the movie, he has magic, sparkly fingers. And he's, well, relying on holographic tech, using the drones that he finds and builds to make them real. And in the movie, he tries to paint himself as this new Iron Man after Iron Man has been killed. I'd spin this around so you could take a look at the Sun Conure we have, just to fill in the awkward gap. But honestly, I don't think he wants to see you right now. You'll have to see the movie for yourself if you want to be blown away like I was. I really did not see the end credit scenes coming. Like, I was not expecting that. Everything that you'd think would have happened, that you would have thought would happen, didn't. And everything that happened thereafter left you searching for the pieces, like trying to understand what is coming next. Post-credit scenes in Spider-Man Far From Home, it showed J. Jonah Jameson, and I witnessed some... Spider-Man is one of the most enduring characters in all of Marvel's history. He has not broken once, and the only time he has was in Amazing Spider-Man issue 586 I don't know, it was before issue 600 that he finally broke and actually made a deal with the devil. You can take that however way you want it to. When I learned of Spider-Man, when I read his history, I was completely blown away. It was one of the best written backstories I've ever seen, because with others, there's just so much other backstory overlapping as the issues progress that you need to put it into the original backstory that you once witnessed. For Iron Man, for Captain America, there are a lot of things that are overwritten in their past, whereas Spider-Man's, I mean, he didn't have spider powers until he was like 16, 15. Whereas in the other timelines for other heroes, it's a little all over the place. Whereas Peter's, he actually has a stable life. He had a life before he became Spider-Man, and now he's screwed. There's no other word for it. He is screwed. He is well and truly boned. Even in the movies, he's screwed. Like, he's never going to get a moment's rest. And after seeing what happened, I can only imagine that he's going to go through unimaginable hell because of Quentin's antics. If you're watching this, there will be a spoiler warning alert at the start of the video, because everything here will be spoilers. It was nice seeing Jonah after all these years. I mean, the original Spider-Man movie where Tobey Maguire was in. Seeing him now, it really made me laugh. I mean, this bald head of hair, I mean, I wasn't expecting that. When I first saw it, I thought it was a bald cap. But no, that's from old age. Seeing Nick Fury out in space really freaked me out, because Captain Marvel 2 is coming in. Or the rise of the new S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters. The Skrulls, Jesus, the Skrulls are going to have their own part in this now, and I gotta say, amazing abilities really freaked me out. Like, when I saw this, when me and everyone else in that audience watching this movie saw this, we were like, oh shit. What just happened? That was the end credit scene. Post credit scene, I was like, what the That was literally it. What the for me. Because it's apparently a running gag in every Spider-Man movie now. Because every time you're about to drop the F-bomb, it immediately cuts. And that's it. Spider-Man. I could go on telling you how much I love this character, how enduring he is, how much trauma he has gone through that makes Batman's trauma look like child's play. I mean, they basically have similar pasts, only the difference is Peter had a home to go and call home, a place to call home. He had people who acted as his foster parents. Whereas Bruce, he had a butler who considered him a son. The trauma he's been through, the moments we all share when we see Spider-Man. He is the definition of hope. My only regret is that they should have made Spider-Man an adult instead of having a teenager go after a legacy that is too big for him. Being the next Iron Man, that's going to be hard, especially now that Tony's dead. I really missed everything that happened before Infinity War. I loved it then. Now after watching Endgame, I wish it was still the same way it was. And with Spider-Man, well, lots happened. Quentin, it may or may not be dead. Could be another low-key mishap. Peter's identity is out in the open. All New York has witnessed it, so chances are it could be dismissed. Happy has a very interesting interaction with Peter and his aunt. I think you'll find it very interesting after you watch the movie. And one of the things that I did not appreciate in this movie was that they took out a lot of the most badass action scenes you'd see you saw in the trailer, like the Iron Spider suit scene, like the hang gliding suit scene when you witness the new spider suit from descending down on. Well, actually, we did see that, but there are a lot of scenes from the movie that we did not witness. I love this movie. I love it so much, and I'm trying to give it the review it deserves, but it is really hard. Because it was perfect in every way for me. If you want an actual critic, you can always go on RottenTomato.com. Check them out. But for me, who has been a fan of Spider-Man for nearly all of his life, I'm having a hard time trying to give it a fair review. Part of me wants to say that it was the best movie ever created. The other part of me wants to explain that the CGI was a little too much. The Spider-Sense battle scene was by far the best fight scene yet. That actually beat 2004? I'm not sure when that first Spider-Man movie released. But it really beat the Green Goblin scene. It beat it by a country mile. The CGI was a little too much. We got to see a lot of Peter's weaknesses being fleshed out in the open. We saw dead Tony. We saw him get hit by a metro train, which was going at dangerous speed. We witnessed him survive it, which was pretty cool. I gotta give the movie credit for its comedy too. Tom Holland was in Holland when where he ended up. All the comedy was very noticeable. Ned and Betty Brant like in the comics, were a couple. Only difference is Ned Leeds is a fat brown Asian, and Betty Brant is white and blonde. She has the look of the next Gwen Stacy. When I first saw that, I was like, what the hell, Gwen? And then I saw Betty Brant, and I was like, oh, come on, man, you got that wrong. You got Ned wrong, you got Betty wrong, now you have MJ wrong, now you have Betty Brant who's wrong. But beggars can't be choosers. And I really love that movie, and I cannot wait until it's on Amazon Prime so I can watch it. But until then, I'm gonna have to make do with what I've got. I want to do the movie justice, but I am not a fair critic, not when it comes to Spider-Man movies. So that's it. I'm done.